Human systems repeat a flaw, prioritizing constructed substitutes over living truth. When a signal is siphoned off, the noise is mistaken for the source. Chapter 20 identifies this architectural failure as the Samiri pattern, building a false center of authority from the residue of a real one. The mechanism relies on extracting a localized physical trace from a messenger and weaponizing it. It bypasses the command to focus on the footprint. That trace enters a high-entropy feedback loop, forming the golden calf. It produces a lowing sound to simulate life, but it offers zero guidance. It extracts human energy while returning only noise. Systems valuing material preservation over the transmission of living logic eventually calcify. This state is tagut, a rigid authority structure wrapped around a lifeless center. The Samiri pattern persists in modern structural thinking as a recurring default state. Reliance on the physical echoes of history triggers a degeneration into chaotic assumption and blind consensus. Chapter 6, verse 116 provides the countermeasure, defining majority consensus as a state of assumption rather than a metric for truth. This text functions as an active, self-verifying operating system. It is the living memory of human origins, encoded for retrieval by the reader. Chapter 39 explicitly labels this structural framework the best hadith. It operates as a complete, closed-loop system. Every variable resolves internally, requiring no external data sources to function. Verses 45:6 and 77:50 challenge the user. If this system is complete, why treat it as a passive history book while seeking authority elsewhere? A historical reading disconnects the user from the active transmission happening in the present moment. The built-in defense against system degradation is topological. The text consists of 6,236 distinct nodes. Those nodes are linked by 343,842 unique edges, forming a dense, interconnected sphere of data. Chapter 34 describes a technology of interlocked rings, softened and woven to distribute pressure. This is the signature of the chainmail, a network that remains flexible yet structurally impenetrable. Within this network, every verse explains another. This redundancy creates a cryptographic lock where the meaning of one node is confirmed by the light of the others. This interlocking density eliminates structural gaps, leaving no room for conjecture or external corruption to infiltrate the logic. The mathematical density of the book renders secondary authorities unnecessary. It is a self-contained verification engine. A common reading of verse 3340, the seal of the prophets, often blocks users from engaging with this active network. The verse distinguishes between two functions. The Nabi refers to a biological lineage and legislative prophethood. As indicated by the seal, this line hits a definitive boundary and stops. However, the Risala, the transmission of the message, continues. It propagates horizontally across the network, accessible to all. Conflating these terms leads to a passive state, where readers wait for a historical savior instead of responding to the information present now. Verse 4034 records this error. A community witnessing the death of a messenger mistakenly concludes that the transmission itself has ended. The Qur'an has superseded the biological prophet to become the living Rasul among humanity, addressing the reader directly. Closing the biological door made the transmission universal and accessible to anyone. The chainmail network remains dormant without an active human operator. The system boots up with a specific command found in verse 1912, "O Yahya, take the book with strength." Taking the book with strength involves integrating the firmware of the text into one's actions and memory. It is a structural alignment rather than a loud recitation. This grip collapses historical distance. The node ignites, and the reader becomes an active part of the network. This Rasul function allows the operator to continuously resurrect the truths that the Samiri systems attempt to bury. The reader functions as the operational hardware required to execute the book's software. This activation triggers structural guarantees, beginning with the preservation of the operator from external corruption, described in the Qur'an as the cave. The second guarantee is the dismantling of seemingly invincible systems of false knowledge. These massive structures are exposed as hollow once the truth is applied. Verse 2118 describes the result. falsehood disintegrates upon its impact with the truth. Finally, verse 21:105 ensures the inheritance of the earth by righteous, aligned operators. The Quranic network is a highly engineered retrieval mechanism designed to navigate the soul back to its source. Reading the text as a history book is a distraction from its function as a precise mechanism waiting for a pilot,